Hey, what's going on, guys? UFC President Dana White did an interview with Kevin Iole on his YouTube channel. I could not believe my eyes. I could not believe my ears. Kevin Iole actually asked some decent questions to Dana White, one being a question that I've wanted asked for literally 6 months now, and that is, what is the holdup with Conor McGregor? Why does he not have a fight date announced? And Dana White started to deflect, and we're going to take a look at this clip here in a minute. But Dana White started to deflect, and I literally wanted to go like this. Because Kevin Iole actually started to ask follow-up questions to kind of press Dana White on this particular topic. And not only that, Kevin Iole also got a soft kind of deadline for the announcement regarding UFC 300's main event. So we're going to take a look at both those clips in this video. And there's a couple other things I want to discuss to kind of recap this interview with Dana White. Because one of them, and that's the first clip we're going to look at, Dana White kind of puts out an outright lie regarding a fighter on the roster that has been regurgitated by him many times. It's been regurgitated by the MMA community many times. And it's basically accepted as fact now, but it's literally completely false. And then we're also going to look at a couple clips of Dana White talking about Power Slap, which I thought were absolutely hilarious, so I wanted to include them in this video. And also, if you're a UFC fan who has been wanting a live event in Hawaii, you are going to be livid at something Dana White has to say in this interview. So let's start right away. Let's jump into it. I know there's some people on YouTube who make a video, talk for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and say absolutely nothing. They talk in circles, cough, cough, chail son in. We're not going to do that on this channel. So we're going to jump right into it. And this is a Zoom call that Kevin Iole did with Dana White to do this interview on his YouTube channel. And so it's kind of weird. We kind of have this empty space here. I think I'm going to fill it here in a second. But one thing I want to say, Kevin Iole, I believe, was laid off from Yahoo Sports. He worked there forever, covering boxing, covering MMA. I guess he's trying to run his own thing now. He's trying to, run his YouTube channel, run a website. I'm going to link this video down in the description. If you want to go check out the full video, go subscribe to him. I make fun of these MMA media members, but this guy's been around forever covering the sport. He deserves to make a living. Go support his YouTube channel. Go subscribe to his channel. He's doing interviews with multiple fighters. He needs to kind of improve his quality. Kevin Iole, if you ever watch this video and you need help improving your quality, please message me on social media. I will help you fix this horrible, ugly 480p. I mean, this looks like Brett Okamoto's camera. I know Brett Okamoto's working for ESPN, but has horrible quality. And honestly, these black squares here look so weird, but that's just kind of the way the Zoom call is. It has black bars on top and bottom. So I'm actually going to fill this space. And what better to fill it with than Dana White hanging out in the hot tub with the boys and showing off his luscious V. So let's get right into it. And we're going to cover something that the MMA community has been lying about, as well as Dana White has been lying about for a long time. But we're also, before we get to that lie, and we're going to discuss it as we go, Dana White discusses Henry Cejudo's retirement. Let's listen to this. Let's jump in right away.
What's Triple C going to do? I mean, so this is a huge fight for him, don't you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it was ridiculous that Henry Cejudo retired.
Let me explain that to you in case you were not watching the sport then. And this has never been completely confirmed by anyone. Henry Cejudo retired as a negotiating tactic as champion. He thought the UFC and the fans were going to be clamoring for him to come back, and nobody cared. They just moved on without him. So Dana White still harbors some resentment towards Henry Cejudo for that, but that's not the lie. We'll get to the lie in a second, because they're talking about Henry Cejudo, Merab Dvalishvili.
Listen, when you retire, you should stay away and never come back. I mean, this guy retired when he was in his fucking prime. I mean, he looked good. And this is a big fight for both these guys.
And he gets into the lie right here. And this is something that the MMA community has been saying for a long time that has drove me nuts. Well, for the last year, not really a long time.
Rob sat out, didn't take a title fight because his friend had the title.
Merab sat out and didn't take a title fight. I want to break my computer screen right now. I want to rip this mic off and start smashing my computer. I want to break my desk right now. This is a lie. If you believe this, this is a lie. Merab fought in March of 2023 against Piotr Jan. This was the fight that made Merab Dvalishvili the #1 contender in the bantamweight division. This was the fight that earned Merab a title shot. Well, guess what? When that fight happened, we already had Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo booked for the bantamweight title. And guess what? it was already known the winner of that fight, whoever won the belt at whatever card that was last year, whatever pay-per-view that was, we knew the winner of that fight, I believe it was UFC 288, was going to fight Sean O'Malley because Sean O'Malley earned his title shot against Piotr Jan with that robbery win at UFC 280. So at no point did Merab turn down a title shot. At no point did Merab have a title shot. At no point was he offered a title shot. We already had it lined up. And this isn't based on my narrative. This is based on Dana White's narrative. He said, yeah, the winner of Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo will fight Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley's earned a shot with the winner of Piotr Jan. Well, Merab won his fight in March. So where in there did Merab ever have a title shot that he turned down? Because no one pulled out any of those fights. That is a lie that keeps getting regurgitated time and time again. And he goes on a little bit more here. We'll listen to a little bit more.
All that stuff. So I think you're looking at two guys that, in my opinion, have made some mistakes in their careers.
So there you go. He's just shitting on Merab and Henry. Henry, I understand why he's mad. Henry kind of retired as a negotiating tactic that didn't work. But the whole Merab turn down a title fight, if somebody has some information that I haven't been made aware of, let me know down in the comments. That is completely false. He never had a title fight that he turned down. We already had title fights lined up when Merab earned his title fight in March of 2023 against Piotr Jan. And then Henry Cejudo versus Aljamain Sterling was in May of 2023. And then the winner of that fight was going to do a quick turnaround, which they already had set up. It was going to be at UFC 292, which was in August. And Merab said he wanted a title shot after that. He just said in the past, I really don't want to fight my teammate. That never came to fruition. It never happened where it was like, okay, you're being offered your teammate and he turned it down. So I just wanted to correct that. Moving on, we have a little bit of a hint. We have our first hint regarding UFC 300. It's not that big of a hint, but I figured I'd include it since it's only about 20 seconds long. Listen to this. They're talking about how great UFC 300 is going to be. I believe the original question was, how will UFC 300 compare to the Sphere?
Like on 300, something between like 11 to 13 world champions. Yeah.
11 to 13 world champions will be on UFC 300.
And depending on the main event, could be 11 to 13 world champions on that fucking card. Okay. Never been done. It's never been done in the history of combat sports.
So there you go. He's just hyping up 300. So I know this isn't a massive hint, but I just wanted to include it since it was so short. That basically confirms the main event is going to be obviously a title fight, but obviously the challenger is going to be a former champion. Most likely. So in a way, that rules out Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad 2, which I know a lot of you guys don't want to see as the main event of UFC 300. Now, that may end up coming to fruition if all else fails and one of these other matchups falls off potentially, but that also eliminates Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. So basically, you have to have a former champion now fighting for a belt. That could be Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. That could be maybe Jamal Hill versus... now, how am I forgetting that? That's insanity. The light heavyweight title has jumped around so much, I forgot that Alex Pereira had the title. So it could be Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. I don't know if that's going to be it, but either way, you kind of have a little bit of a hint regarding UFC 300. This next clip I want to look at, and this is something I've been wanting to address, but it's not its own video, but this is regarding Power Slap. Half this interview was regarding Power Slap, and that's why Kevin Iole has the access he has to Dana White, is because he's kind of been squirming on Dana White's lap for 20 years now. He carries water for Dana. He asked him about Power Slap, but he does offer some criticism of Power Slap to Dana White.
I have warmed up to it. Like, I had fun on Friday, right? Like, now I still have a hard time with a dude with his hands behind his back getting whacked in the face, right? And
so Kevin Iole lobbies criticism of Power Slap to Dana White's face. You think any media member would ever do that? It's because Kevin Iole has a long relationship with him, and also he sugarcoats it with, I've been warming up to it, blah, 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 but I have a problem with people holding their arms behind their back and getting slapped. So let's see Dana White's response, because he's heated. You can tell he's annoyed by this.
And not being able to defend, like, where is the sport in that? But it was cool.
This is that what you just said to me is fucking verbatim what I heard about the UFC.
He goes into a little bit more, but that's verbatim means exact words. I don't think anyone in the early days, I mean, I was a kid back then. I wasn't watching UFC. I don't think anyone said, oh, I really don't like someone holding their arms behind their back and getting slapped upside their head. I don't think anyone ever said that. So that's just, I get what he's trying to get to. He makes his point here in a second, but that's not what anybody ever said.
Including from you in the early days.
And by the way, look at that. He had that shit-eating grin on his face a second ago.
Wait a minute. So I just have a hard time wrapping my head around somebody getting hit and going down, and somebody can jump on top of them and start punching them. I can't wrap my head around that.
So let me say something that you guys are going to think I'm crazy right now. I agree with Dana White. I agree with Dana White here to an extent. Not 100%, but to an extent. What Dana's trying to say here is you want to claim, outrage and say, oh, I don't like the brain damage the slappers are taking, but you watch MMA. And to a certain extent, I understand that. But I think that's only part of the argument. The real argument is it's fucking stupid. I mean, there's two truck drivers just slapping each other upside the head. It's stupid. You throw the layer of undefended CTE on top of it and it makes it even dumber. That is the real point. It's not 100%, oh, I don't like the damage they're taking, because we do watch a bloodthirsty sport in MMA, which does take a lot of damage, but a guy standing there defenseless taking the damage, and on top of it, it's just a dumb sport. Who cares about it? I get Dana's point. You shouldn't be claiming outrage if you're not worried about brain damage in MMA. You shouldn't be worried about it in power slap, and I think we all should kind of be worried about it. But I understand his point here, and I wanted to make it very clear because everyone thinks I always hate on Dana and I always take the opposite side of Dana.
Everybody's head's wrapped around it now, isn't it? Yeah. I heard the same shit, including from you, in the beginning about the UFC.
You are in fantasy land, but we'll ignore that. So
He said, I'm not gonna address that. You're in fantasy land.
Remember having the conversations, me, you, and Lorenzo, and
I
you
do
could
remember
not wrap your head around that.
Remember.
As could nobody else.
Let's talk about slapping. So
let's get back to the slapping, Dana. I was trying to give you a layup here.
That's what I'm talking about. I have a hard time wrapping my head around somebody holding their hands behind their back and taking a slap. It's the same thing you and everybody else said about the UFC when a guy went down to the ground, that a guy could jump on top of him and start punching him. Verbatim. I mean, these are all the things that I've heard early on in the UFC.
It's just not the same. I understand the point he's making here. It's just not the same. Like, the sport is stupid. It's just stupid. And this man acts like it's some massive, huge success. We're going to listen to a little bit more because I just thought this was kind of comical. But I get what he's saying. It's just power slap in the UFC is not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Dana needs to stop acting like, I've seen this before. Yeah, what about the Ultimate Surfer, Dana White? What about the Ultimate Surfer, all right? You had the Ultimate Surfer. I think you had the Ultimate Skateboarder before. You had Power Slap on TBS. They didn't want it because the ratings were horrible. Nobody likes the shit. Get over it.
I know it's hard for people to even comprehend the fact that the UFC was in such a place back then that venues didn't want us. Media wouldn't cover us.
All right, he goes on a diatribe about how the UFC and Power Slap are running parallel and how big Power Slap, the success they're having in such a short period of time. One other thing I want to show regarding Power Slap, really quick, and I'm sorry to subject you guys to this, but this was actually funny. It's Dana talking about how he got into Power Slap. He talks about his favorite Power Slapper. Listen to this.
Like Dumpling. Dumpling was the guy that really got me into slapping. So I would watch him take this slap, and then I had to see how it fucking played out. Yeah. Does this other guy take his slap?
I mean, what is this? What is this right now? What are we doing? What are we doing? Does this... The reason I wanted to show this is, one, because it was funny, but two, I honestly believe Dana's more passionate about Power Slap than he is about the UFC. I don't know if it's a midlife crisis. I don't know what it is, but he's more passionate about it. Now, one other thing, because I know I said that was the last thing, but this is just a real quick 10-second clip. The UFC's been asked about, when are they going to Hawaii forever? When is the UFC going to have an event in Hawaii? You had BJ Penn, you had Max Holloway. Max Holloway's been advocating for a fight in Hawaii. Dana White had the audacity to say this about Power Slap.
Of the people in there.
Right. And what I'm figuring is the way that it's all playing out right now, Hawaii might be our first real big, where we actually go and sell tickets and do an arena.
So they're going to do a big arena for Power Slap in Hawaii, but yet they couldn't put a show on with Max Holloway there? Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. Now, the next clip that we're going to get to, this is the best part of the whole interview. He presses Dana White on Conor McGregor. For those of you who don't know, and I'll link the video where I really explain the entire theory. I'm just going to go into it very briefly here. The reason Conor McGregor isn't fighting is because of contract negotiations going on behind the scenes. Conor has said multiple times, I want to fight. Give me a date. Give me a date. Give me a date. Give me a date. And nothing has come to fruition. There was USADA kind of, hold up for a while there, and then that kind of fell off. And essentially, the UFC doesn't want to let Conor get down to his last fight on his contract. That's why they're kind of icing him here. And nobody's asked Dana, well, what's going on with Conor? You've been promoting that he's returning since February of 2023, over a year ago now. It's, the year date from when they announced TUF was early February. What's going on? No media member has had the audacity to ask that, because they know it's something more than what Dana's letting on, and they don't want to press him on it. Kevin Iole not only asks him about it, he presses him on it when Dana White kind of starts to deflect. It is absolutely hilarious. And by the way, look at Dana's always got that shit-eating grin on, doesn't he? He just got done talking about power slap. He's got that shit-eating grin on. But let's listen to it.
You said it when you talked to Pat McAfee that Conor hopefully in the fall. Why is it taking so long for him? Is he injured? Can you explain what the scenario is? That why we don't have clarity? This has been almost 3 years since he's been hurt.
By the way, I usually don't play the question because I usually set it up in the video. I had to play that question because as much as I crap on MMA media, I need to give a round of applause to Kevin Iole. Great question. Nobody's willing to ask it. By the way, I've mentioned it in previous Dana videos. When he gets asked certain questions that he doesn't really want to answer, a lot of times he'll put his hand in front of his face. Watch, that's coming up very shortly.
Well, you got to, first of all, he is coming back from one of the nastiest injuries you can come back from. How long was Anderson Silva out when he did it? How long was Chris Weidman out when he did it?
How long was Anderson Silva out? How long was Chris Weidman? Kevin Iole's obviously not prepared with those dates, but I am prepared with those dates. Conor McGregor broke his leg on July 10th, 2021. If you go to present day, he's been out for 948 days. That does not include the exponential amount of time that could be until fall of this year. It would be over 1,000 days by the time Conor McGregor fights. It could be 1,200 days. It could be 1,300 days by the time Conor actually fights. But it'll at least be over 1,000 days because it's at 948 right now till present day. Anderson Silva broke his leg on December 28th, 2023, and returned January 31st, 2015. That is 399 days. Literally less than half of the time that Conor McGregor was out. And you could say, oh, well, maybe Anderson Silva was on roids because he tested positive. Conor McGregor was out of the randomized testing pool for literally almost the entirety of the almost 3 years he's been out now. Now you look at Chris Weidman. He's a little bit more on par with Conor McGregor. He broke his leg on April 24th, 2021. He returned August 19th, 2023, which is 847 days, which is almost exactly 100 days less than Conor McGregor to present day. So I wanted to give you guys that little bit of information. Let's listen. He goes on.
The guys who break that bone. So that's an issue right there, number one.
That's an issue right there. Talk about deflecting. So you're telling me you announced the Ultimate Fighter in February of 2023. Now it's February of 2024, and Conor's not even healthy? It's been 3 years? It's been almost 3 years since he's been out. He's not healthy. You announced and promoted this fight. You thought it was going to happen last year. It doesn't make any sense. And thank God Kevin Iole just doesn't accept this bullshit. He follows up on it.
One. Number two is Conor McGregor doesn't need the fucking money.
Conor McGregor doesn't need the money, a.k.a. Conor doesn't want to fight.
Right.
So when you don't need the money, it's not as easy. I mean, Habib doesn't need the money. Habib retired.
Habib didn't want to fight anymore. But either way, I get the comparison.
So would it be fair to say that if Conor's not...
Tread lightly, Kevin. Tread lightly, Kevin. He'll cut you off. Look, he's thinking about it right now. Look at that. He's thinking about it, Kevin. He's thinking about it. Don't you mess up, Kevin.
Fighting now, is he healthy enough to fight if he chose to fight?
Well, I don't know that.
Well, I don't know that, Kevin. Why would I know? One of my biggest superstar that I announced the Ultimate Fighter on, that I've been teasing a fight for the last year. Why would I know an update on his health? What? What? This is total horseshit.
Only Conor knows that.
Well, okay, that's what I'm asking. So do you?
Conor's the one. I mean, these are questions for Conor McGregor, not me.
Deflecting. Kevin Iole spits another nasty question at him. Not nasty, but you get my point. Hilarious question. Listen to Kevin Iole follow up on this one. I got to give it to him. He asked 3 hard questions in a row here.
Conor, I know he's training. I don't know what level of training he's doing. I don't know what level of kicking he's doing right now, I don't know any of that stuff.
But you listen to this. Listen to this from Kevin Iole. Guys, please. I want nothing but positive comments about Kevin Iole down in the comment section.
You talked to him about fighting. I mean, I'm sure you talked to him about fighting on 300, so you would have to have some idea, wouldn't you, Dana?
You don't have no idea when your biggest superstar is going to return? I'm sure you had to have some conversation with them.
Yeah, but I need to know the guy's in a full camp and he's ready to go. And Conor McGregor has a movie coming out. He's got businesses that he's built. It's a completely different dynamic when you're dealing with a guy that has this kind of money.
I thought for sure he put his hand in front of his face, but I guess he doesn't. Maybe he does it here in a second. But which is it? Is it his health or does he have a movie coming out? Is it the money or does he have health problems? Is it the leg break or is it the movie? Which is it, Dana? It's a contract is what it is. I wish Kevin Iole would have said, is there any issues with his contract? Oh, Dana would have ended the interview right then and there. He'd be like, fuck you, Kevin. Get out of my face, Kevin. Let's listen to a little bit more.
And then last thing, like, what is...
Okay, so that's literally it. Kevin Iole says, all right, I pressed him hard enough. But shout out to Kevin Iole for asking some decent questions there. But this next question, he asked him about UFC 300, presses him about UFC 300, and we get a soft deadline for UFC 300, which we've all been waiting for. There's been so much speculation about it. Listen to this.
Just your anticipation of the main event. Like, do you feel like, is there... John Jones came out the other day and said it wasn't going to be him today.
This is when he starts getting a little squirrely here. He's like, oh, Kevin, tread lightly, Kevin.
Hamzat said he wasn't fighting on 300. So it's eliminating a lot of guys. When do you think you'll have it narrowed down, and any hints you can give us?
Yeah, I'll probably announce it. Maybe I'll announce it at the press conference this weekend.
All right. Well, that'll be fun. UFC pre-fight or post-fight press conference? You're going to make us wait
Post.
till after? Post. Okay. UFC 290.
He just made that up on the spot. He's going to announce it the post-fight presser? What is going on here? Why would you just randomly announce it at a 2 a.m. post-fight presser? I think maybe this is just deflecting. Maybe he's hiding a shit-eating grin in the back there. I don't know, behind that fist. But I think Dana's stressed about this main event. By the way, I actually forgot to point out something. I remember seeing something when I watched this the first time. But let me go back here. I forgot where it was. Oh, here it is. Dana does not leave home. Dana does not leave home without that power slap blue Solo Cup. I'll tell you that much right now. But yeah, so apparently we're going to get the UFC 300 main event announcement at the post-fight of UFC 298. So Saturday night at 2 a.m. Eastern time. That's just, I don't believe that. I think he's just struggling to get it together. And let's get rid of Dana White's Luscious V and the Zoom call. I think Dana White's just struggling to get the main event together, and he just pushed it off to them because he's like, okay, maybe we'll announce it. Now, everyone's going to take that as he's definitely going to announce it, but don't be so sure. This may go into next week now. I thought it was going to be announced for sure in the first couple days of this week. It's nowhere to be found. So we have a date. We have a little bit of answers about Conor McGregor. We have some discussion about Power Slap. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.